Hi everyone, my name is Leslie, and today I'm going to talk about Lady Lazarus, power and enlightenment from postcolonialism. So, these three stories are personal diaries of their respective author, whose purpose is to make visible the oppression their communities and they themselves had suffered due to the supremacy of a more powerful community. So, Power by Audre Lorde is the story of a black boy killed by a white policeman. Lady Lazarus, written by Sylvia Plath, is the story of a Jew during World War II. And Enlightenment, written by Natasha Treadway, is the story of an owner and his slave. Regarding the critical theory that I'm going to use, I want to say that the post-colonial perspective goes beyond the story of literature as literature to become a multidisciplinary theory that aims to understand how culture is created, maintained, and weakened. Also, this critical theory is concerned about the ambiguity and loss of identity. So, my first argument goes around the concept of othering, which is a practice of viewing those who are different from oneself as inferior ones, dividing people and justifying hierarchies. So, when we look at this concept in the poem Power, we find that there is a strong division between black and white people. So the poem reflects the racial discrimination and segregation of African Americans at the hands of white supremacy. So examples of these are the vision of the policeman regarding what he has done. For example, we know that when he killed this guy, he says that you little motherfucker. Also, we know that in his defense, he says, I didn't notice the size nor nothing else, only the color. Um, this is quite interesting because this let us know how the policeman doesn't care about who this guy was, just that he was black and that's why he was bad. Um, Another example is the power of the jury. So first we have the influence the jury has on the black woman that was also a part of them, but most of them were white men, and that's why they convinced her, and she ended up uh, just leaving the power she got be as a part of the jury. Um, Also, we notice the power the jury has on this justice system since uh, the tapes there were to prove the culpability of the policeman were completely ignored. Now, when talking about this concept in the case of the poem Lady Lazarus, we know that the poem is a harsh criticism to the complacent Germans who stood aside while the Jews were thrown into concentration camps. So we have here two main themes. That is first the deterioration of Jews as things. So the other makes reference to the use the Nazis give to some of the corpses of Jews whom they had killed by turning their skin into lampshades and their bodies into soup. So, um, for example, in this in the examples we have on the screen. Um, you poke and stir, flesh, bone, there is nothing there, a cake of soup, a wedding ring, a gold filling. The other concept that is important in this poem is the demonic other. So the other address an unspecified enemy asking him to peel the napkin from his face and inquiring whether he is terrified by the features he sees there, as if there was something wrong in her. Finally, in the case of this concept, in the point Enlightenment, we know that there's a strong division between black and white people again, but the difference is that in this case we are also talking about hierarchy. So this is portrayed, through the story of Thomas Jefferson as a Lehemings. So the first theme that is part of this poem is the impossibility of the relationship they both have. So the way the father talks about Sally shows how for him and many people around them it will be impossible for Jefferson to be with his slave, since she is just not at his level. Also, we have this idea of improving the black people. Yeah, and this is portrayed by the fact that the father justifies that everything that happened between them, I mean, they had kids, happened just because she was not a plain black slave. Instead, she had some white associated characteristics that made her worthy of Jefferson's attention. So, for example, the father mentioned that he was near white and that he had quadroon mistress. Now, my second argument goes around the personal critical approach to oppression that each poem has. So, the authors of this poem experience what is depicted in the stories and take a critical position about the most powerful people in them. So, in the case of the poem Power, as the poet has witnessed all these tragedies in hand, she expresses her own literary power will become corrupt to the extent that one day she will harm an elderly lady without considering future consequences as an angry reaction towards this brutality. So, the author of this poem is showing how she is affected by this situation that had happened, and she's sharing her concern about this situation. In the case of Lady Lazarus, um, the speaker of the poem warns her God and her Lucifer to beware of her because she is going to rise out of the ash and eat men like earth. This is interesting because this is a warning. This is a warning for, let's say, the powerful ones of the poem. And this is also portrayed in the quotation that is on the screen. So the speaker mentions that there is a church for everything that these people had made to her. Finally, in the case of the poem Enlightenment, the author reflects about her relationship with her father regarding race and ironically judge his idea that he made her better. And here let's remember that her father was white and her mother was black, so she's biracial. And she also judged his support to Jefferson just because he was an important and intelligent man. So regarding this, she said, as if to prove a man's pursuit of knowledge is greater than his shortcomings, the limits of his vision. I would like to conclude by summarizing what I just said, and is that each of these poems have a personal critical approach from the other that shares her concern about the oppression that some communities suffer. And I would like to say that The way we decide to tell our stories give us the power to impact others' minds. So using our voice to make others like us but with less opportunities visible is the best way to fight and protest against those who want them and us to feel inferior. We are not just letting them know how we feel, but we are also restating our existence by sharing stories that are not supposed to be told and far from heard. Thank you so much.